My name is Laurie Watt, and I work for Mooney Mountain Guides, which is based here in New Hampshire. And I guide rock climbing, ice climbing, mountaineering, backpacking, and hiking in New Hampshire and in the Pacific Northwest. My pathway to adventure started when I was little. I had an uncle who would take me out backpacking and hiking in the White Mountains when I was about 7 or 8. And those experiences were magical. But then that sense of adventure just sort of stayed dormant while I went about the other routes of life, which is go to school, get married, have a career as a physical therapist, have children. And that was a great time, but I neglected this part of myself and I needed to come back to it. So that's what I did when the kids went off to college, was I came back to my adventure. I started technical climbing, I started mountaineering, I hired guides to take me out and teach me, and then I made the decision that I really wanted to become a guide. I actually approached one of the guides I had hired many times and very sheepishly asked if there was a space for me, if this was possible for me, someone of my age, my background, and my history of not really climbing very much. And much to my surprise, I was welcomed in and given mentorship and a pathway to find myself becoming a guide at the age of, 55. I worked as a physical therapist for 32 years. As I began to turn my attention towards climbing and guiding, I balanced the two. So I was still working part-time as a physical therapist in my own practice, but I was spending more time out climbing, hiking, backpacking, getting those skills and that experience. But I got to this point where I realized I was spending a lot more time thinking about climbing than about my patients, and that felt unfair. And at the same time, I was also feeling the truth of the clock ticking. I am an older person and my body will allow me to do this for a while, but not as long as if I had gotten into this when I was younger. So just this past summer, before I headed out to guide in the Pacific Northwest, I made the decision to close my PT practice. And that felt like a big deal at the time. But as the universe often does, as soon as I did that, opportunities in guiding just started to present themselves to me. I think the biggest barrier to entry for me was when I was considering this, is not seeing anyone like me in the field. There are more women coming in, but there's still a big minority. And women of my age, there's even fewer of. And therefore have all the doubts around whether I was going to be strong enough, fit enough, or skilled enough to be able to do this job felt like a huge barrier. For my clients, I think the biggest barrier to entry is fear. Not being familiar with the outside, with the activity, and feeling like it is much less accessible than they know. Most women my age, they think, I couldn't possibly rock climb. I can't do a pull-up. I'm not strong. I could never ice climb. It's too scary. And so one of the greatest joys is being able to bring people out and show them actually how accessible it is, and almost always get someone up a climb their first day, which is pretty neat. Being out in the wilderness, especially in remote areas, it's a place I could express all of me because I couldn't be that wild, like in my family, in my house. There wasn't space for it, but there was out here.